I think the main reason Stan Johnson was so big as a folk hero, not because he was just one of the most what I call high profile Aboriginal players in the 1970s. He was a Montreal killer for Boston. Not only did he knock out Pierre Bouchard in the most famous fight of the 1970s for a Bruins player, and a lot of people say, "Oh, Bouchard cut himself open when he hit the ice." No, he was cut it before he ever hit. You can see my previous podcast. But he also had a big hat trick in Game 6 of that famous 79 semifinal against Montreal. but the momentum of the early third period of Game 3 stopped Boston from probably winning the Cup that year. Montreal eventually won in overtime. So today we're going to be talking about some of the basic stats about Stan Johnson, a full-blooded Aboriginal Canadian athlete. And Boston really recruited him over 3 seasons from Peterborough. He was taken 86 overall in a very strong 1975 NHL entry draft. He wasn't drafted for his size, 5'8", 175. Now, Ohsweken, Ontario, hometown is Hagersville. 3 years with Peterborough, and he was drawing a lot of important penalty minutes while putting out important points. He had 14, 19, and 36 goals between 73 and 75. And, of course, his draft year was his best in Peterborough, 75 points, including 36 counters, and each one of them was big. Now, he played at the 1974 World Junior Championship in an unofficial event, helping them win bronze. He was also in the OMJHL All-Star third team with Peterborough in 75. Now, he also played again in the first World Junior Championship in Leningrad, an unofficial tournament that helped set the stage for the first official Worlds in 77. Now, he debuted, ironically, because Minnesota was a big rival of Boston, on April 4th, 76, which, again, that was after playing a little bit of time in the minors. He wore the famous number 17 in Boston and number 9 in Pittsburgh. Now, his stats don't tell the whole story, but it tells the story to me. He had 91 goals in 411 career games, 110 assists, and 51 tough penalty minutes. But in the playoffs, again, 3 of those goals of his 8 in the postseason came in Game 6 in 79, 8, 4, 12, 137. Now, he lost in the Stanley Cup Finals with Boston twice in 77-78, both times to Montreal. The first one in 4 games, and the second one in 6, where Boston lost at home in that pivotal Game 6 after Brad Park staked him an early 1-0 lead. He was a Boston WSBK TV 7-Player Award in 78, and the Boston Shore Trophy, Home Games MVP, in 78 when he was a co-winner. A very accurate shooter, he was the NHL shooting percentage leader in 77 with 23.9%. He was also their playoff penalty minutes leader in 81 with 30. Now, to say he played on Boston defensive line would be kind of a misnomer. He did play on the line with Greg Shepard and Don Marcotte for Boston 78, but he would score a big goal when needed. Now, he had a really bad injury in 79. He broke his right wrist and separated his shoulder, which he missed most of the campaign, which required postseason surgery. Now, again, he was strong enough for the playoffs. Now, that hat trick came on May 8, 79, again, which made him a bigger folk hero across Canada. Now, post-draft teams, he played with Rochester of the AHL, Dayton of the IHL, Baltimore of the AHL, and Flamborough and Brantford of the OHA Senior League. Now, he won the IHL Turner Cup in Dayton before his call-up in 76. He also made the All-Star first team that season in the IHL. He was a WHA draft pick in 79 by Indy, 103rd overall in the 8th round. He was a playoff points leader for Dayton in 76 with 21 and a goals leader with 13. They were also regular season champions that year for 75-76. Now, he played 1 game for Brantford, a team that went on to win the Allen Cup in 87, but was not with the team during the postseason. Now, he eventually spent summers of his playing days on a Six Nations reserve in Ontario. Again, he retired for the first time in 83, but came out of retirement in 85 to play senior hockey in his home province of Ontario. Now, he also worked for Aboriginal causes after his retirement and was an instructor in Aboriginal youth schools. He became active in old-timer charity hockey in his retirement. Met him in 2010, and boys, what a great reception he got that night at the event in Woodstock. Now, the Bulldog, born Stanley Carl Johnson, again a full-blooded Tuscarora Indian. Now, ironically, ladies and gentlemen, I think he learned to be tough. 14 children in his family. And if you know the big families across the Maritimes and Ontario and Quebec, that's 14 kids. The craft dinner only goes so far at the table. But like I said, pound for pound, one of the toughest players of all time. Now, the reason why we're doing a podcast on him, he's going to be reaching his big birthday coming up, born in 1955. So this year will be a year to celebrate, because his 70th birthday will be celebrated across the Boston Bruin, what they call universe. Now, just to recap a little bit again, the fifth round draft pick. Jonathan was ignored by most other scouts and by general manager Harry Sinden. However, he was picked up due to the shrewdness of Don Cherry, who was kind of doing some scouting, who had seen him play with the Petes earlier that season. Jonathan started the campaign in Peterborough, and Cherry once stated that it was as proud as discovery his hockey career was Stan Jonathan. I don't know if the Boston Bruins could have ever been successful from a cultural and what he called hometown hero standpoint without people like Wensink and Jonathan and even Brad Park. Now the one game he had, and according to published reports, a lot of different books, he typified Bruins hockey, displaying both outstanding offensive ability and toughness. Adept at knocking in rebounds, and Cherry, coach at the time, stated he had the most accurate shot in the league, was unproven. Now, as a rookie, he led all NHL players in shooting percentage, putting goals in a clip of 23.9, so a goal every 4 shots. Now, the shooting percentage again the next season, 78, was 22.3. Now, a capable enforcer. His big battles again included bouts against Keith Magnuson, who got his clock clean many times by Jonathan, Pierre Bouchard, Dave the Hammer Schultz, and Audrey Moose Dupont. Now, again, arguably for many, Johnson's most famous moment was the savage beating of Pierre Bouchard in a brawl during Game 4 of the 78 Stanley Cup Finals. Challenged by Butch's son, who outweighed Jonathan by maybe 40 pounds and stood 7 inches taller, Jonathan held his own, breaking Bouchard's nose and cheekbone and knocking him to the ice, and he bled like a stuck pig. Now, he did miss most of 79, but played the playoff games. Did return in 1980 with 21 goals, but what he was doing more rough play with 208 minutes and penalties. I think Bruins faithful, their hearts broke when he was traded to the Penguins on November 8, 82, in exchange for cash. He played 19 games for Pittsburgh that year, but his heart wasn't in it. Now, just to look at those numbers with Dayton, the IHL, like the title year, he combined for almost 40 goals that season with 73 points. 77, he played a few games in Rochester before the big call-up. Now, the Baltimore Skipjacks, again, when he was in the minors, boasted that year any other team could have picked him up, even Montreal or Toronto, but he never did it. Now, at the World Junior Championships, he had 8 penalty minutes in 5 games. So Stan Jonathan, pound for pound, the most important Aboriginal player, I think, of the 1970s, because his impact on not only Canada and the States, but the original Six fans. Stan Jonathan had the great respect of everybody, and a lot of Aboriginal players that were playing minor hockey in the 80s and 90s. I've been covering like the Aboriginal Sports Circle hockey teams and stuff like that. He probably led to Everett Sanapa and Gino Wojcik and all these great Aboriginal players. He was the role model. Henry Boucher as well. So you're looking at one of the most impactful hockey players. There's nothing bigger to him. 5'8", 165 pounds, but he stood 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Stan Jonathan is a god in Boston. He's a god in Canada. He's a god on First Nation reserves. Although he's had some rough times in his life, I don't want to get into that hunting incident, but like I said, there was just bad luck on that. Stan Jonathan got the deep respect. And meeting him, to see all these top players there, John Wensink and, Rick Middleton and Terry O'Reilly, Rick Smith, to see him, the respect he had from his teammates is tremendous. And see, I'm a Montreal Canadian fan, and Bouchard deserved it. He thought he could get over Jonathan, and what's going to happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a story of Stan Jonathan, one of the most popular players in the history of the NHL. If you like what you're doing here with our Boston Bruins podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.